So a very interesting behavioral intervention that I wanted to cover has to do with mastering the way in which you communicate a change. And this intervention doesn't really have much to do with the content of your communication. So for example, the narrative that you use or the message that you send, but it has everything to do with the way in which you communicate it through scaling up and down a narrative by picking the right context. And the reason that this is so important is because it brings quite a challenge with it. You probably have been in the scenario where you were trying to communicate a change with a change coalition or a leader, but you see that there is this excessive use of very lengthy PowerPoints and very wordy presentations, or presentations that are very good in content, but don't really fit the situation. People get tired, people get a bit anxious, people get a bit jumpy because the way in which the communication is being set up isn't perfectly matched to the situation in which the stakeholders are in. So there's a challenge about how you bring your message, and this is about being able to balance the density of information that you're trying to communicate. You should avoid being too much, and you should avoid being too little. You should be adapting to different environments and situational contexts. So, for example, a town hall is something completely different than a show and tell or a workshop or a water cooler pitch for that matter. And also, it is always a challenge to make sure that you communicate effectively to all the stakeholder groups. And this could mean, especially in large-scale transformations or big changes, that the style of communication should be wildly different according to stakeholders. So what we need is a way in which we can communicate at scale, and a tool in which we can help the people that are change ambassadors or that are change agents to scale up and down their narrative and their communication. And the 33-30 rule is a great way in which you can do that. It's actually quite simple. It is a framework that helps you condense the story that you're trying to tell. So this could be a change narrative or any type of communication that you are trying to bring across regarding a certain change. And you have three versions of them. There's a 30-minute version, which is very extensive, of course. There's a 3-minute version, and there's a 30-second version, and they all suit a purpose in different contexts. And the main goal of this 33-30 rule is to tailor your change narrative to different audiences and different contexts. So let's briefly go over what each of these versions mean and how you can apply them. Starting with the 30-minute one. So imagine you're announcing a big restructuring, you're announcing a downsizement or maybe a merger or an acquisition or a complete overhaul of an HR system or sales system. This needs a good story, this type of change. So it needs a narrative that explains why this is happening. There's another intervention called the public narrative, which we'll talk about soon. But what it comes down to is it needs an elaborate story that covers all the uncertainties and answers all the questions. This is your 30-minute version, and you could often craft this one first. So this is great for town halls, all hands meetings. Usually when you see a leader speak about change, they're using this 30-minute version. It has all the details, all the context, and it also provides for a lot of interaction. So it's not just a one-way type of communication. It provides an opportunity for Q&A as well. So this is great for town halls. Now let's move on to the 3-minute version. This is something a lot shorter, of course, and this is where, when you have to bring a message across, scale it through an organization. So imagine you have a network of change ambassadors and you want them to tell the story as well. So they can't all remember this 30-minute version, and it won't be suitable for each occasion. So it's great to help them craft a 3-minute version, which is great for workshops, for quick presentations, also really good for getting leadership buy-in and sponsorship buy-in. They often don't have that much time. So a great 30-minute version is not going to cut it, because you need to do it in a briefer period of time. So that's where this 3-minute version comes in really handy. And of course, content-wise, it's all straightforward. It's quite straightforward. It's about focusing on just the key messages. What are the key points that you want to get across, the key impacts, and how it will impact different stakeholders. And it's all about being able to cut all the unnecessary details out of the bigger version, the 30-minute version. Now, of course, you can go even smaller. There's a 30-second version. So imagine we're running this big change, like the overhaul of an HR system, and we're telling the 30-minute version. We have a network of ambassadors that is doing the 3-minute version, but we want to bring this change even further. We want everyone to be aware of it. So we want people across the organization. Maybe it's in different countries. We want them to talk about this. And we give them a 30-second version. So we just give them a quick, concise, and simple pitch. It could be done in an elevator, could be done by the water cooler. It could be employees could fill each other in on this when one of them has been out of office for a while. And this is just a highly condensed version that highlights the most important information. Now, the key is, of course, to make sure that you keep communicating the key message and of course, the most important details. So the way in which you can help bringing this 330 rule alive is by making sure that the stories that you're condensing from 30 minutes to 3 minutes to 30 seconds, that they maintain their core message for each audience. And this is often where other stakeholders that are communicating could use the most help. They are passionate about the message, they know what to tell, but they need some structure and they need to be able to scale their narrative up and down. So you can use this tool to help them. Of course, there's a bonus as well, a 3-second version. You can turn your change narrative, your 30-minute change narrative, into a 3-second motto. So, for example, I mean, we all know the ones from the presidential campaigns. We've been working with a financial institution that use build banking for better. This is a 3-second version that actually encapsulates their entire purpose. So if you don't have any time at all, make sure that they at least remember the 3-second version of the narrative, because you are aware of the fact in how storytelling can really shape the success of a change. And we will go deeper into this in the public narrative intervention that covers everything about the content of an effective and persuasive narrative. But for now, this is more about structure, which is equally, if sometimes not more important. So basically, it is about striving for balance in your communication, making sure how long to speak, in what occasion, and making sure that the key message comes across, using it to adapt the narrative that you already have, and of course, make sure that stakeholders are engaged. The 3-minute version might be enough for some occasions. For some occasions, you need to be even faster with the 3-second version if you want to. It's about effective messaging in effective contexts. So basically, that's it. Make sure that you understand this tool. It's quite easy, and it's quite easy to scale on an organization as well. So use it to inform your change ambassadors, your change networks, other stakeholders that you want to help communicate, empower them, make sure that they keep the key message in their narrative, and make sure that you provide them with the tools to tell the right story at the right time.